Right, okay, we're now standing on Tower Green. Tower Green is the village green of the Tower of London. Our village green, however, slightly different to many other English towns and villages. At their centre, you'll find a duck pond, a bowling green, maybe a wonderful cricket ground. Ours is slightly different because at our centre, we have our very own execution site. That glass sculpture behind me here, that stands in memory of the private executions, and it should not be confused with that public scaffold site that I pointed out earlier on. 6 people were legally executed right there. 3 of those were Queens of England. I am going to tell you about those in some detail shortly, but before I do that, I want to talk about some of the other really important buildings that surround us up here on Tower Green. Now, if you go down this pathway to my right, that'll take you to the entrance of the bloody tower. Inside there, folks, will see displayed on Sir Walter Raleigh and the 2 boy princes. Move around into the corner when you see the guards stood outside. That impressive L-shaped timber frame building you see there, that is the Queen's House. Why is it called the Queen's House? Because it is the Queen's House. It is a perfectly preserved Tudor residence that still serves as the home of the Constable of the Tower of London and his family. Currently, that is General the Lord Sir Nicholas and Lady Houghton. They are given permission to live in the Queen's House under the condition it looks after the Crown Jewels and Royal Regalia, along with the support of the body of Yeoman Warder and the garrison troops on duty. It has had some incredibly important guests invited to stay there. Margaret Pole, Countess of Salisbury, she was invited to stay there and then executed there. Catherine Howard, the 5th wife of King Henry VIII, she was invited to stay there and then executed there. Sir Thomas More, Lord Chancellor of England during the reign of King Henry VIII, his good friend John Fisher, the Bishop of Rochester, they were both imprisoned there in 1534 because they refused to accept the King as head of the Church of England. Both men remained true to their faith. Then in 1535, they were executed
right there.
up there on Tower Hill. Can't do my job yet, can you? Either way, folks, not a great place to be invited to stay, is it? William Penn, the man who founded Pennsylvania, he was in prison there for his offensive writings. Even as a prisoner in that house, he compiled the controversial pamphlet, No Cross, No Crown. One of the last state prisoners across there was a man called Rudolf Hess, Deputy Führer of Nazi Germany, and he was held in that house for 3 days in May 1941. Unfortunately, London was experiencing some significant health and safety problems back in 1941, and we had to move him to country for his own safety. Where's my American friends again? Get your hands up. What was the health and safety problem in London in 1941? Shall I give you multiple choice for that help? A, the plague. B, the Great Fire of London. Or C, the Second World War.
Oh, right.
I know it gets confusing for the Americans, doesn't it? What year did the Second World War begin? Again, confusing.
1939. 1940.
Yeah, see, we can see where the problem arose, can't we? Just for reference, most people agree 38. Okay, unless you're American, in which case it was 41. However, I would like to take this opportunity and say thank you very much for turning up eventually and winning the whole thing for us. Yeah. Right, the house on either side of the Queen's House, they have the light blue doors. They date from a slightly later period, but they serve as more accommodation for yeoman warders and our families. Behind us there, that's the Beecham Tower. That's the main state prison during the Tudor period. Folks, if you get a chance, get in there. Up on the 2nd floor, behind that tall arch window, you'll see carvings and inscriptions into the stonework of the walls. Some of those date back almost 500 years. On your right-hand side, I mentioned earlier, that is the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, which is Latin for St. Peter in Chains. After St. Paul's Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, that probably ranks as one of the most important burial sites in the country. Many important people have been buried with great pomp and dignity in those other 2 great churches. That little chapel, however, that represents the other side of the coin. Some of the most infamous people in history are buried in there. There would have been no friends or family at the graveside, not even a priest in attendance. The famous historian, a man called Thomas Babington Macaulay, writes, in truth, there is no sadder place on earth than this little chapel. That chapel currently contains the celebrity A-list of the 15th and 16th century. If they were to do Celebrity Jungle, Get Me Out of Here, that is your cast list inside there. give you an idea of who is buried in there, that is the final resting place of Queen Anne Boleyn, Queen Catherine Howard, Queen Jane Grey, Robert Devereux, James Scott, the Duke of Monmouth, Sir